Chapter 8. Broken-hearted. It is a pity to shoot the pianist when their piano is out of tune. Their piano is badly out of tune when your life is in disarray and you lose the person that you love. But throwing away or wasting that life that is left is a classic way of shooting the pianist. Be kind to yourself and give yourself time. Remember, even the most out-of-tune pianos can be made to play good music again. Renee Cody. I didn't sleep much after Emma was gone, and when I did, it was because I had cried myself to sleep. We were fortunate to have employers who gave us special extended leave. We were both a mess, physically and mentally, so it was much appreciated. I felt like the saddest person on the planet. To be perfectly honest, I would pray to God to take me in the night so I didn't have to wake up in the morning. Jehovah! I screamed inside, just take me, put me out of my misery. What was I going to live for? What did I have to live for? It really was so difficult to imagine how life could be better or different from the emptiness I was experiencing. At one point, I thought God was going to answer my prayer, to just slip away in my sleep as I developed a profound pain in my heart. The pain felt as if someone had reached inside my body and was squeezing my heart with all their might. Squeeze harder, I would say to myself, just squeeze harder, just make it end. This pain continued for a few days. I decided I had better make an appointment with our GP as I was still having trouble going to sleep, and if I was to function and be of any assistance at work, I needed some help. The doctor explained that the medical term I was suffering from regarding the pain in my heart was takotsubo, cardiomyopathy, also known as broken heart syndrome. He said that it was a temporary heart condition that can be brought on by sudden or extreme forms of emotional stress such as grief. The symptoms mimic a heart attack. He reassured me that I would not die from it as I was a young, fit, healthy person, and in time it should pass. The pain lasted between 4 and 5 months. I was also prescribed sleeping tablets for the first few weeks, but had to return for another 2 weeks' supply, until finally I was able to fall asleep without crying myself to sleep. Grief support. Returning to work was tough. It was tough in 2 ways. One, when I looked into my colleagues' faces, I could see in their eyes my pain and their pain as a parent. It was that look. How can you do it? I can't even imagine what you've gone through. And 2, I had a great job. But this is not what I wanted to be doing. I just wanted to be a mum. I just wanted to be home with my baby. There were 2 support groups that we were aware of for bereaved parents. One was the cot death group. This was when your baby died unexpectedly in their sleep for no rhyme or reason. Then there was another group that met occasionally for parents that had lost a grown child either through illness, accident or suicide. To be fair, I could barely cope with my own grief, that I just couldn't bear the pain of anyone else. I just wanted someone who could just hold my hand, just hold me to comfort me, to not ask questions, to not tell me it was going to be okay, or that I would soon get over it. Each time someone made that last comment, "You will soon get over it," I literally had to sit on my hands as I thought I would punch them in the face. My mind often thought of how the other mums and bubs were doing that I'd met in the hospital. The ones that had gone home before us and the ones that were still in there after we came home. It was a very unique and special place. Everyone knew just how fragile life was without saying it. I will never forget the phone call I received from Sue a few weeks after Emma's death. She phoned and told me that she had previously been in the baby unit with one of her other pregnancies and the baby didn't make it. She knew how I felt. It was tough. It was a lonely place to be, and it really, really hurt. The pain doesn't go away, but you learn to live with it, she said. It was so good to have my feelings validated. Just hearing those words at the time was a godsend. She helped me realise that I wasn't going mad. It made such a huge difference. It didn't stop my sadness, but it was such a reassuring feeling to be understood. The guilt. To think back and figure out how I managed to survive the first year after Emma's death is a bit of a miracle. I was deeply affected, mentally and physically. To just get through the day took so much effort. Leaving Emma in the hospital by herself the night before her surgery left me riddled with guilt. It was the what if thoughts going through my mind. What if I had stayed? Maybe she wouldn't have become unsettled and distressed, and her heart wouldn't have gone into an irregular heartbeat, and she would still be alive. As a mother, I felt that I had abandoned her. How could I have done this? I blamed myself for her death. Why? Because on top of leaving her in the hospital by herself, the blood cultures taken from me when I was in the hospital with Emma showed that I hadn't received my full vaccination as a child for the measles. If I had done, she wouldn't have suffered this way. The blaming game began, and so did the nightmares. The nightmares. They may have started differently, but they always ended the same. I would be out walking with Emma in her pram. I would stop and talk to someone in the park, then continue our walk. Looking down on the pram, and she was gone. Someone had taken her. Or in another dream, a friend had come over to look after her while I'd popped out to the supermarket. And on arriving home, my friend would be distraught, saying that someone had abducted her while I was out. It was awful. Every dream ended the same, with her gone. I always woke up distressed and crying. I felt sick most of the time and didn't feel like eating. To stop the nightmares, I found myself drinking to numb the pain or to conk out, fall asleep. I realised a habit was forming, but it was the only way I seemed to be able to cope, just to get through my new reality. The hardest part of the week was the weekend, getting used to the deathly silence that now occupied our home. As a couple and as time progressed, we found that we went from hugging each other to nothing. We couldn't talk, we couldn't comfort each other. We were just so lost and felt like we were getting more and more distant from each other. It wasn't a matter of should we think about trying for another baby. It was more like, are we going to make it as a couple? We both seemed to be living in this trance. For me, it was a weird feeling. I felt like I was in this glass box. I could see out. People could see in, but there was nothingness. I couldn't hear or speak. They could see me, but not hear me. I was only there in body. I felt dead, and I was functioning like a robot would. Black and blue were now my favourite colours. Colour to me meant life, joy and happiness. That was gone. All gone. When, or if I would feel those emotions again, that was $1 million question. The truth of the matter is that we couldn't help each other emotionally. We were trying to understand our own pain, that we couldn't comfort each other. At the time I felt guilty about this, that I was a failure as a wife somehow. But then I found out further down the track by one of our doctors that there's a very high separation rate over the death of a child. Why? Because couples can find it so hard to communicate how they are feeling because each one is suffering so much. Each one is dealing with their own trauma, their own pain. Each time we looked into each other's eyes, there was this incredibly sad person looking back at you, and it was a constant reminder that a part of you and a part of them had died. Most of our friends hadn't started their family yet, so they had no idea what to say or to do to help us. They were struggling with the concept of, what if this happens to us when we decide to have a baby? Why is it hard to accept death? Have you ever wondered why someone will fight for their life until the end? Or why it is sad to see someone we love die no matter what age they are. Because God created us with eternity in our heart, no one is looking forward to death. It is not in us. The exception being if you're suffering in some way and have been for a long time. Yes, you don't want to be in pain any longer, but no one is welcoming the day that they die. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set eternity in their heart. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11, American Standard Bible. It was never God's purpose for us to die. That is why it hurts so much to lose a loved one.